Welcome to today's trade compliance update, where we provide you the Department of Commerce increases of various penalty amounts for import, export, free trade zones or FTZs, and other violations. Welcome to Allied Trade Compliance. The Department of Commerce is increasing for inflation the civil monetary penalty amounts that may be assessed for the following regulatory violations after January 15, including when the associated violation occurred before that date. What that means is they can backdate a violation and apply said penalties that will be listed shortly. The Department of Commerce has said that the actual penalty assessed for a particular violation will depend on a variety of factors, including violations of the International Emergency Economic Powers Act, which is U.S. Code 50, Section 1705B. For some of you that do not know, the International Emergency Economic Powers Act authorizes the president to regulate foreign economic transactions when the president declares a national emergency to deal with any unusual and extraordinary threat to the United States which has a foreign source. In light of these violations, the violation for the International Emergency Economic Powers Act, the maximum increase from $356,579 to $368,136. That is a $11,557 difference. Next, the violations of the Export Controls Act of 2018, which you can find in the U.S. Code 50, Section 4819. The maximum has increased from $353,534 to $364,992. That is an $11,458 difference. Now, they are also saying failure to file export information or reports required by U.S. Code 13, Section 304 within the prescribed period has a maximum for each day delinquency increased. It has increased by $53. They are now charging $1,696, whereas in the past they charged $1,643. They're also saying that the maximum per violation, this is again failure to file export information or reports that is required by U.S. Code 13, Section 304. They're also saying that the violation will also be increasing by $533. The new amount would be $16,971. Previously, it was $16,438. Understand that this bill, the Export Controls Act of 2018, this bill grants the president authority to control the export, re-export, and transfer of items, commodities, software, and technologies, whether by U.S. persons, including corporations, or by foreign persons, wherever located to protect national security. Other unlawful export information activities under U.S. Code 13, Section 305B, they have increased that maximum by $533. That amount now is $16,971, whereby it was in the past $16,438. Moving on to the free trade zone violations, which you can find more details of it in U.S. Code 19, Section 81S, S like Sam. The maximum for free trade zone violation increased from $3,446 to $3,558, which is a $112 difference. For those of you that do not know, a foreign trade zone is a designated location in the United States where companies can use special customs procedure that help encourage U.S. activity. Moving on, the next amount that the Department of Commerce has enforced penalty-wise has to do with the wildlife import and export violations under the Lacey Act, which you can find more details of it in U.S. Code 16, Section 3373A1 and A2. The maximum increase from $31,908 to $32,942. Moving on to the seafood import and export, the Department of Commerce has also raised and increased the penalties for said violations on the seafood import and export under the High Seas Fishing Compliance Act, which you can find more details of it in U.S. Code 16, Section 5507A. The maximum which they applied to the seafood import and export violation increased from $193,890 to $200,000 to $174, which is $6,284 difference. The Department of Commerce is also saying that failure to furnish any information required under U.S. Code 22, Chapter 46, which is the International Investment and Trade in Services Survey. They're saying failure to furnish such information, they have increased the penalty for said act from a $5,580 to $5,761. On the variable scale, they also apply a separate penalty, again giving the variance of, like they said, based on the scenario that will be applicable. These amounts can vary. Moving on to the nuts and bolts of things, we come to the Fastener Quality Act violation, which is U.S. Code 15, Section 5408B. The maximum increased from $55,508 to $57,617, which is a whooping $2,109 difference. Last but not the least, we are arriving to the Chemicals, Weapons Convention Implementation Act. The U.S. Department of Commerce prohibit acts relating to inspections or record keeping. Well, they are applying a violation. So if a company does not make sure that their inspection or record keeping is up to par under the Chemical Weapons Convention Implementation Act, which can be found under U.S. Code 22, Section 6761-A1B, they have increased the maximum from $45,000 to $46,000, $46,901. It's roughly a $294 difference, basically. That is all for the penalty amounts which the Department of Commerce has increased for various imports, exports, the free trade zones, and other violations as it applies to the many agencies. Thank you very much for tuning in to Allied Trade Compliance Updates. Stay tuned for more updates that we cover from various sectors of the import and export areas. Thank you.